Hey you guys, this is our Wednesday homework. We're going to be doing chapter 10, lesson 6. I'll put the video right here, and I'm hoping it won't even be 30 minutes because I'm trying to pick up the pace. And we are doing lesson 4.6 with pages 217 and 218. You're going to work through all the problems. Make sure you pause the video. I know I haven't been saying to pause the video, but make sure you pause the video as you go along to help you guys work it out first. But these are also kind of learning videos. So remember, you have to memorize your tons. You have to know that milligrams is 10 times or 1,000 times less. Deci is 10 times less. Deca is 10 times more. So those are those terms that you need to know. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to continue to convert. But this time, you're really thinking about how you can use a table, which is what we've been doing already. Remember, these are your factors. You need to know your multiplication table. These are your factors. And these are the multiples. So a multiple of 6 and 7 is 42. 42 is a multiple of 6 and 7. 12 is a multiple of 2 and 6, but it's also a multiple of 3 and 4. And of course, it's always a multiple of 1, right? And 12. 24 is a multiple of 6 and 4. It's also a multiple, here's 24, of 3 and 8. But if there were the 12s, it would be a multiple of 2 and 12, and of course 1 and 24. So these are your multiples or your products. These are the numbers that you find when you multiply two factors together. Okay. All right, let's take a look at 10.6. Let's just say 6. Image mate. I'm getting a little bit faster, I hope, right? All right, and again, I'm going to pause it because I'm not as strong in class as I am at home with my organizational stuff. All right, so you have your book, so you can't always necessarily look at what I'm doing. Hopefully you're really looking with your book first, and that is even clearer than mine sometimes. All right, so Aaron is making fruit punch. All right, Aaron is making fruit punch for the family reunion. He needs to make 120 cups. So if there was 120 people, they'd each get one, but chances are there's not hopefully that many people. He wants to store it in gallon containers. How many gallons will he need to make? Use the graphic organizer. So look at how he did it. So you can do it this way, and I think that's definitely interesting. Or you can do what I was teaching you about, the conversion chart. Okay, so how would we do it? We have 120 cups, right? And we need to turn it into gallons. How many gallons? So I'm going to put a question mark by that. All right, so what is it that we know? We can do 1 cup is equal to 8 ounces, but I don't think that's really helping me. I'm just trying to figure out what I can remember. I know that 2 cups is equal to 1 pint, and that 2 pints is equal to what? 1 quart. And this is where it gets tricky. I really want to say 2 quarts, but you remember that this is 4 quarts. 4 quarts is equal to what? 1 gallon. So on all of this, I really like to draw a picture. So here's my gallon. There's my quarts. Remember that? If I cut my quarts in half, those are my pints. And if I cut those in half, these are my cups. Remember that? And each cup is 8 ounces, so I can put an 8 in there. So if I cut all these into fourths, and this was 1 gallon, each gallon is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So each gallon is equal to 16 cups. You see how I did that? All right, so again, I'm going to make my T-chart. If I'm going this way, how am I going to get from 1 to 16? Well, I'm going to multiply. 1 times 16 is 16. If I'm having cups and I'm trying to go from gallons, how do I go from 16 to 1? I need to divide. 16 divided by 16 gives me 1. So that shows me my conversion, and I will never make a mistake on me if I need to multiply or divide. Now I look at what do I have? I have cups. So that's going to go over here, 120 cups. And what do I need to find out the gallons? I need to do what operation? Division. All right, so let's take a look. I just want to point out that this is 120 cups divided by 16. That will give me my gallons. What is that? That is a fraction. Isn't that cool? And some of you can fix that a little bit easier. But remember that this is also 120 divided by 16. Okay? All right, so how many 16s can I take out of 1? None. How many 16s can I take out of 12? None. And this is where it gets hard. This is where sometimes I think this isn't such a bad strategy. So I'm going to show you this one, the way I know how to do it, and then we're going to go take a look at this one. All right, so many of you will know you need to guess and check. Find your multiples of 16. And this isn't too high of a number, so I can. 16, this is 1, 16 times 1, 16 times 2. 16 times 3 would be 16 plus another 32 would be 8, 1 plus 3. So this is, I'm adding this 16 to the next one. So this would be 16 times 3. So if I have another set of 16, that's 16 plus 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 64. So if I add another 16 to this one, that'd be 5 16. 6 times 4 is 10. 1, 2, 80. So I'm still not 120, am I? So I'm going to add another 16. 6 groups of 16. So 16 plus 80. That would be 6 is 96. I'm going to add another 16, which would be 7 groups of 16. 7 plus 6 is, or 6 plus 6 is 12. 1, 1, 2 plus 9 is 112. Is that right? I'm just going to double check. 16 times 7 is 42. Carry the 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah. All right, let's add one more group of 16 just to check. 6 plus 2 is 8. Ooh, so it's not going to be easy. So I can't take out 8 groups of 16, but I can take out 7. So 7 groups of 16 is 112. And I can't take away 2 from nothing. So I'm going to make that 10, and I have 8 left. 120 minus 112. So I can either do 8 over 16, which is 7.5, or I can add a decimal, and I can go into my tens place, and look, 5 groups of 16 is 80. So I can have 7 5/10. So this is 7 5/10 of a gallon, or I could have wrote it as 7.5. Do you see how that worked? So I had a couple choices there. So this is no longer a waste, because if I end up with another 16, I have my multiples right there. And that's what I was telling you guys, if you're not sure about your multiples, just write them neatly on the corner of the paper, because you might end up needing them again. All right, so when I answered that question, I ended up with how, if he wants to store it in gallons, how many gallon containers will he need? Check this out. So he's going to need 7.5 gallon containers. Well, that's not a thing. This is a gallon container, right? So how many will he need? He'll actually need 8 of these. One of them will be half full. Now, I want you to notice this one right here. This might have been easier, because some of you would have noticed that I could have cut this in, divided this both by 2. 120 divided by 2 would have given me 60. 16 would have been 80. I can still divide it by 2. 30. 4. See that? I can still divide it by 2. 15, 2. So I ended up with 120 over 16. 120 16 is equivalent to 15 halves, which would have much easier figured out was 7.5. So some of you will recognize that division is a fraction, and that might actually be a little bit easier than going through all the steps. But either way, you still have to know how to divide and use decimals. All right, so that's the first problem. Now they did it all of these ways, and you are welcome to do that. But that to me is a little bit tricky. And what they did is 1 gallon is 4 quarts, which is 8 pints, which is 16 cups, right? So if I can get a little bit closer. There we go. So then they said that 1 quart was 1 out of 4 of a gallon, 1 quart, which would be 2 pints. So they turned it into fractions, okay? So you could definitely do it that way too. Oh, so maybe we have to do it, because look at this. There are how many cups in a gallon? So 16. So each cup is 1/16 of a gallon, okay? So 1 cup, how many makes a whole gallon? 16. You have 1 out of 16. So 120 would be, I guess you're looking for a pattern here. What are we multiplying by? I don't know if we're multiplying by anything. I'd say we're more dividing it by something. Yeah, see, I don't think that really helps. So whoever needs 7.5 gallons containers to store the punch, which would be, you'd need 8 altogether, if you did that correctly, in my opinion. Well, all of the gallons used to be filled to capacity? No, the 8th one would be half. That's that reasoning I was telling you. Because you have 7.5, right? So you need 8, but one of them will be half full. So that's a trick question, so keep an eye on that. All right, try another problem. Again, they're using this conversion chart. 1 meter is what? 10 decimeters. That I. 100 centimeters makes a meter. 1,000 millimeters make a meter. So 1 meter. So if I break this up, it'd be 1/10 of it. 1 centimeter is 1/100th of it. 1 millimeter is 1/1000th of it. And do you remember that conversion chart we were using back here? This is what they're doing. Remember we were talking about this right here? This is what they're doing. This is your place value chart. Okay. I don't necessarily know if I would do it that way, but all right. So let's see if we can do it a different way that's a little bit easier. Shannon is working on an art project for class, and I didn't realize I had to zoom out. All right, Shannon is working on an art project for class. She needs to cut strips of wood that are 1 decimeter long to complete the project. She needs a decimeter, which is smaller than a meter. She has 7 strips of wood that are 1 meter long. How many 1 decimeter strips can she cut? All right, well, let's take a look at this. So I think they made it much too complicated. So she has what? 7 meters, right?
If you're still in the building and you can't smell it already, Miss Stanley has fresh baked chocolate chip cookies in the hostnation room if you would like to partake in one.
All right. I'm sorry you guys aren't here because it's delicious, right? So there's 7 meters. She needs to cut, they're each a decimeter long. So she's cutting them into decimeters. Remember those decimeters are little pieces? They're 1/10 of a meter. How do I know that? Okay, because this is 10. So 10 of these decimeters is equal to 1 meter. So one of these, remember, how do we do this? If I'm going this way, I'm multiplying by 10. If I'm going this way, I'm dividing by 10, right? So if I have one of these and I'm dividing by 10 to get the meters, what's 1 divided by 10? Well, that's a fraction, 1 divided by 10. So that's how they're getting that. And that's where I've always reminded of the Kyla. All right, so each of these is broken up into what? 10 pieces to get my decimeters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So each of these is cut up into 10 pieces. Do we agree? So you can already see what's going to happen. What operation is this? Well, look. If I have here and I put the 7 over here, what operation is that? Times 10. So what's 7 times 10? 70. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So come back. So Sharon can cut 70 1 decimeter lengths to complete her pattern. All right, so these are kind of interesting, but they can be kind of confusing. So the biggest thing is that you have to be able to use your conversion chart, and you have to know what these are worth. Okay, and again, that comes down to your place value. All right, so the best way I like to do it is I have my decimal. These are your ones. These are your tens. And actually, let's turn my paperwork sideways. Do my decimal. These are my ones. These are my tens. These are my hundreds. These are my thousands. Okay, this is my 1/10, my 100th, my 1,000 thousandths. You now have to know what they mean in metric. This might be my meter, or my gram, or my liter, depending if I'm doing distance, weight, or volume. So this would be what? What is 1/10? Those are those little i's, right? Deci, centi, and what is 1,000 milli. Okay, it doesn't matter what comes next. Decimeter, decigram, deciliter, centimeter, centigram, centiliter, millimeter, milligram, milliliter. What is 10? Deca. What is 100? Centa. I don't know the answer to that one. I have to look that one up. I think it was a heck. What is 1,000? Kilo. I'm looking it up. 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 What was it? Hecto. 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 Okay, let's just throw that in. I guess hecto could be for 100, right? All right, so you have to memorize this, which kind of goes along with your place value. This is 10 times more. That is 10 times less. This is 1 times 10, which would be 10. Another jump would be 10 times more. 10 times 10 is 100. Another jump would be 10 times more, which is 1,000. If I'm going on the other side of my decimal, decimal means part, right? If I'm going back, I am dividing by 10, which is that number divided by 10. If I'm going another jump, I'm dividing that by 10, which would be dividing by 100, which would be 100. If I'm doing another jump back, it would be dividing by 1,000. Okay, this is 10 to the first power, 110. This is 10 times 10, 10 to the second power, 10 to the third. Believe it or not, this is 10 to the negative first power, 10 to the negative second, and 10 to the negative third, but you don't necessarily have to know that. Right, but this you do need to know. These have to be memorized. In addition to 1 cup is equal to how many ounces? 8. 2 cups is equal to what? 1 pint. 2 pints is equal to 1 quart. 4 quarts, let's just confuse it all, is 1 gallon. Okay? And then I think you have pounds. Good job, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.